Hello everyone, welcome again to Meeting Recap Roundtable. My name is Tom Lord, and with me today I have the Water Girl, Brandy James, and the fabulous Chris Lattice Drake. And today we're going to be discussing the city's water press conference that they had. If you haven't had a chance to see it, it is on YouTube. It's very boring, and it's a lot of the same things that the city's been saying. Once again, they had gone to the plant, went inside the tank and found 3 inches of sediment inside the tank that seems to be getting into everyone's water lines. I don't even know what to say about this, since the city had come out and said that there was nothing wrong at the plant several times, and now they go back, and I'm wondering if this has to do with Lynette Matheny coming out and saying, are we 10,000% sure that there's nothing wrong at the plant?
Yeah.
They go back, and now all of a sudden, oops. And then, wasn't it a week before that they had the professor from UCF come out and say that there's nothing wrong with the water? I mean, just sounds like double talk.
He said that there was nothing coming out of the plant, and that the raw resin that is used to treat the water is safe for consumption. Not consumption, but to be used.
Yeah.
The whole idea behind the professor coming out and speaking on this is that the raw resin is never been really a concern of ours. It's the resin that's going through the entire process with all the contaminants attached to it, going through the chlorination process. That's what's going into our homes.
Right.
So you can test raw resin until you're blue in the face, but that doesn't help us, because that's not what we're concerned about. Furthermore, if there's no resin coming out of that plant, how did we accumulate 3 inches of resin in that tank?
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing: a Matchbox car is safe to play with. It's not safe to eat.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know that's a silly comparison, but essentially you're telling me that, something in one form is fine, and that's great. That's not a problem. And I understand that, you find a lot of times them silica beads in your purse, right? To keep the moisture out when you buy a new purse or a new bag or whatever, and even pairs of shoes sometimes, but they're not meant for consumption.
Right.
And so that's that. But the other portion is this too. A week before that, they brought out someone from UCF to come out and say that everything was good to go and there's nothing going on. And then within a week, obviously they're finding a variance of levels of sediment of the resin in the tank, and it's bypassing the pipe. I have to say...
Yeah, they're saying it's not coming into the water supply, but that seems...
Well, clearly it is, because you and I are experiencing it, and we're not the only two.
Yeah.
We may be the most vocal, but we're not the only two. And here's the other situation with that, where that stands. I have to give a big shout out and a thank you to Stephanie Bichara from Channel 13, because she asked some pretty pertinent questions, and she continued to pursue getting the truth. And I have a lot of respect for that. And so thank you, Stephanie Bichara. And I do know, though, that, I think it was Keith Ronan, I believe, from Positively Osceola, had asked about, is it true that the complaints have been going down? Yeah, because every time I was asking them to come out, they would do the same thing and flush my pipes, and it got me nowhere. So really, in all honesty, I myself even stopped complaining at this point in time.
Well, and not even that, but I think we all give the city a little bit of grace. We've
Sure.
all recently, in the past 2 weeks, received notices on our door that they're doing ice pigging in different areas. So when they're doing that, you expect to have sediment, you expect to have those things, because the pipes aren't going to get cleaned otherwise.
Right.
And
they tell you in there, be careful, watch out for sediment, watch out for discoloration. So,
right.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to call the city, because guess what? They've communicated that there's going to be dirty water possibly. So why would I call the city and complain when they put out communication making me aware that could happen?
Right.
So that's an easy cover up for the water complaints going down. I can tell you that just less than a week ago, I turned on my water and posted a video of orange water coming through my home.
Yeah.
So,
and we've had several sent to you. People have reached out to me.
But do I call the city and tell them when that happens this week? No, because they're working on the pipes.
Right.
Through different areas. And as a matter of fact, I had someone reach out to me and ask. They said that they know we've been pretty active. And they were like, do you guys mind being some of the volunteers that are going door to door to turn off water valves and to go and drop off the tags? So, that was about 3 weeks ago. I had posted something, and within minutes, they contacted me back and said we found the volunteers we needed. So I pulled them down off all the sites. But mine, I will say this for the city. I mean, while I appreciate this, actually the first time I've ever gotten a notification. No joke.
Wow.
Yeah, in all the years ever. Came out last St. Patty's Day. I went to wash my hands and there was nothing coming out of my pipe. So I walked outside and there was a guy on my lawn and I'm like, "What are you doing? Who are you? You stealing my water?" You know, no
you don't want it, I promise.
You don't want it. You can take it. You don't want it. But I have to say, there's a couple of things that are quite concerning to me. And number one was that's the first time I've ever got a notification. Great, I appreciate it. Thank you. It's definitely showing that there's something changing. But what I have to say, what it is it gave me a 12-hour window between 2 days. And I was like, okay, so it tells me between 10 and, 10 and 2, I think? Or 10 and 4? Which is kind of a big gap. I mean, not for nothing.
Well, and then we were talking on the phone, and I grabbed my paper, and mine was even further.
You had like
days.
a 6 or 7
day. It was like
day.
a 6 or 7 day.
Well, here's the frustrating thing. I made sure that I was up and showered and ready to go out the door before the time that they had said. I literally turn on the shower and I start lathering away and boom, water goes down completely.
Wow.
And I was like, not today. Oh my gosh. So I had to send my husband out and he had to go looking. So that was one thing that was concerning to me. Like, stick by your timelines because people live their lives by it. It's very important.
I've noticed that in the past with ice picking too, where where they were doing it, was it ice picking?
Or the flushing.
I can't remember, but there was a time where we were supposed to have our water turned off overnight, and it wasn't supposed to be shut off until 8:30, I think, and they had it shut off at like 7:45.
That's a huge difference.
That's a huge difference, especially to parents giving their kids baths and putting them to bed. That's prime time, you know.
And I don't get home sometimes until later in the evening, and my husband too. I mean, we have a hell of a commute, you know. The other thing, though, I want to say this, and I don't know if anybody else has noticed this. So, and if you have, please reach out. I noticed my water bill doubled last month. And which is hysterical to me because I hardly ever use my water. I use it to shower and I use it to wash my clothing.
Interesting.
And that's it. And my water bill went up to $150 last month. And we're always below the first tier.
Yeah.
We're always much lower than the quantity used to reach the top of the first tier of water. So it's just my husband and I.
Yeah.
And so we buy bottled water and we have the 5-gallon jug. So it's just funny to me. All of a sudden, boom, last month my water doubled, and I almost wondered how many times they came out and flushed our
I was just thinking
our hydrants. Are they charging me for that?
Wow.
But is
It
anybody
shouldn't
else
be because the hydrants are on
like,
city property.
correct? But is anybody else experiencing that as well? If so, can you reach out? I just kind of would like to see maybe the variance, and maybe we can contact the city and see why the water bill has gone up so drastically. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was another thing that came out of this press conference was that they said that they are now committing to flushing the entire water system.
Great, yeah. From the plant to the other side, which is, I mean, I think that we're all just a little bit baffled by how this is kind of playing out because for people like us who've been dealing with this, it seems like common sense that you would have done these things originally.
Right.
Because
instead of 6 years later.
And not only that, even if they started flushing the lines from the plant outward the very first time, even last year when all of this started or the year before when all of this started, it would have been more constructive than the way that they've done it. Now, obviously they have experts working on this. I'm not discounting their knowledge. Obviously they're doing things for a reason. But in my head, it just seems silly. And it goes back to when they started the ice pigging. They did all of my neighborhood. And then we had to wait months for them to go back and do the main line from the plant to my neighborhood.
Right.
So I'm like,
right, that's nonsensical. So you're pushing it back out to us.
I have clean water in my neighborhood pipes, but the water coming into them is contaminated because it's going through that main pipe. It just seems so silly to me.
It was literally putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah, and I know it was to just shut us all up because the city doesn't like bad publicity, and Lord knows they have enough of it.
Yeah.
But we're not going anywhere. We're not going to shut up. These press conferences where I think they're trying to save face is just proving that what we've been saying has been right all along.
Right.
Well, and I have to say, and this is just my personal opinion, it's neither here nor there for maybe some other people who may feel differently, but I have to say, I know that Mary Emma is the communications director for the city, but I would have liked to have seen Marjorie Craig be up there.
Yeah.
To be quite honest with you, just because she's kind of got a better finger on the pulse.
I know she had mentioned she was out of town. So maybe that was the case. I'm not sure.
Maybe, and that's okay. And it's nothing against Mary Emma. I'm sure she's a lovely woman. I don't know her. But for me, I think I would rather have someone who has a far better grasp on
the actual situation.
Yes.
Rather
yes.
than the person that is
Right.
supposed to put out information to
Correct.
appease people.
Correct. Yeah. And I mean, and not for nothing, but I could say this much. I know that unfortunately, Mr. Sturgeon looked quite tired. And I can say I do appreciate at least that he's working towards
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
helping
yeah,
out.
Definitely.
I've since we've been doing this, we've seen a difference in the amount of attention that it's been getting and what they've been trying to do. And for that, at least I'm grateful. Again, still don't have that clean water in my house. Don't have it in yours.
Yeah.
And other
Definitely
people.
seen progress though. I feel like they are trying to communicate more, which is great. Is it sufficient? Probably not yet. But we'll take positive steps where we can get them.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yep.
I just wonder if it's going to be enough at this point, and if what they're doing, it seems like they keep doing the same things over and over again, and
Expecting
they're
different results.
just convinced that now that the resin isn't coming from the plant, that they'll be able to get all the resin out of the pipes.
yeah, but then they
By
found
doing
3
the
inches
flushing.
of sediment in the bottom of the tank, and it's like, you told us that there was no problem at the plant.
Right,
You know,
and
the
it fixed
plant was
multiple times, it was
fixed,
replaced.
Yeah, and this is not the first time they've had an issue with this plant. I mean, are we at the point now where we need to get rid of this plant and maybe get a new plant?
I definitely think that is something that needs to happen, but
That's where
And
I'm
one of the
at.
things that I want to express to people who may not know this, but Mr. Todd Swingle, that came from Toho and did the presentation at the budget meeting, touting for Toho to purchase or even manage our water. I want to let you guys know he was there in 2010, I think it was, or whatever.
whenever it was installed.
Yeah. He was there, and he knows what he's getting. What he left us with, and so it's concerning to me that he didn't even address it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
The fact that they didn't discuss
They didn't, and again, let
The
me give
resin
shout
at
out to
all.
whom deserves it, and that's Keith
Keith
Trace, Councilman Trace, who actually said, "Hey, there's an elephant in the room. Let's kind of discuss it, folks." And I appreciate that because
and I feel like they're using the resin in the system to get everybody to jump on their plan
Yep.
to have Toho purchase. But at the end of the day, just like he said, we couldn't sell the utilities in their current condition to Toho, so we would be responsible for cleaning it up before that was even done
Right.
anyway.
Right.
So don't let the city fool you into thinking that this Toho move is going to be great and all of our problems are going to be fixed, because that's not the case, because the people that are handling the problems now are still the people that are going to be handling them until it's fixed. And furthermore, the mayor in that meeting came out and was complaining about debt. He was saying, we have $40 million in debt. Well, that debt is bonded. That debt, as soon as that's all the plants and equipment and stuff that we have,
being mortgaged essentially.
yeah, mortgaged basically. And once those are paid off, they're pure money makers. So don't let the mayor confuse you and make you think that $40 million we're so far in debt and we're never going to get out. That's not the case.
Well, and the fix is going to be the same regardless, whether it's us or whether it's Toho, whomever. The fix is going to be the same. If the fix that will be required to get it properly done this time is, for instance, let's say it is changing out the pipes or changing out the MyX resin plant, well, then that's going to be the same no matter who owns it.
Right.
And so, and this is my opinion, they're trying to swindle everybody with like, hey, you're going to get a lower bill. It's not.
It's a very small portion of people
such an
and a
insignificant
small amount.
Yeah.
And not only that, but Toho has MyX resin plants themselves, and a couple of them that they have are giving them problems.
Yeah, Harmony.
So, exactly, Harmony being one of them. So, in the forefront, selling to Toho sounds like a great idea.
Sure.
It looks like a grand plan, but if you dive into the details and you really know what's going on in this city, and you know the people involved, and you know the details about the plan more than what's just on the forefront, you'll realize that there's some interesting things going on in the background.
Always is.
Yeah.